When my 7-year-old son and I returned home from a week-long camping trip, we expected to find our peaceful sanctuary waiting for us. Instead, we stepped into a nightmare. I walked into my son's bedroom only to find it completely gutted. His bed, his desk, his favorite toys, his clothes. Every single thing he owned was gone. Confused and rising with panic, I confronted my younger sister in the hallway. She just laughed in my face and told me she took over the room and sold everything online to buy new furniture because she was pregnant. When I looked at my mother for support, she just chuckled and said my sister needed it more, so it was only fair. My son clung to my clothes crying, heartbroken over his lost treasures. I felt a cold rage settle over my heart. I said nothing, took my son by the hand, and walked away. They thought I was surrendering, but they had no idea that I owned the deed to the entire house, and their cruel betrayal was about to cost them everything. For years, I had been the silent provider for my family. After my father passed away, I stepped up to ensure my mother and my younger sister, Sarah, were cared for. I was a successful corporate consultant who worked tireless hours to build a secure life for my son, Leo. After my husband passed away in a tragic accident, the house we lived in was a large 4-bedroom property. My mother and sister always assumed my mother owned it, but in reality, I bought the house outright 3 years ago and had been paying all the property taxes, utility bills, and maintenance costs out of my own pocket. I allowed them to live there rent-free because I believed in family. Sarah had always been spoiled and entitled. My mother enabled her every whim, constantly defending her reckless behavior while expecting me to bear all financial responsibilities. When Sarah announced her unexpected pregnancy, my mother treated her like royalty. However, I never imagined their entitlement would cross into outright theft and cruelty toward a child. That afternoon when Leo and I came home, Leo went straight to his bedroom to unpack his small backpack. Seconds later, I heard him sob. I rushed to his room and froze. The room was completely bare. The walls were stripped of his artwork. His handcrafted wooden bed was gone, and even his closet was empty. I marched into the living room where Sarah was relaxing on the couch. I demanded to know where my son's belongings were. Sarah looked up with a smug smile and explained that since she was having a baby, she needed the larger bedroom. She said she put all of Leo's things on an online marketplace and sold them for quick cash to start buying luxury nursery items. She proudly bragged about getting a good price for his custom furniture and vintage toy collection. When I turned to my mother expecting her to condemn Sarah's criminal actions, my mother simply smiled and said that Sarah is pregnant and needs the space. So it is only fair for Leo to move into the tiny windowless storage room down the hall. Leo burst into tears, holding onto my suit jacket, asking why his aunt threw away his late father's handmade wooden toys. I realized in that exact moment that reasoning with them was impossible. They viewed my generosity as weakness. I did not scream, throw a fit, or engage in an argument. I calmly wiped Leo's tears, packed our remaining suitcases from our car, and took him to a high-end hotel downtown. That night, while Leo slept soundly, I went to work. I contacted my real estate attorney and laid out the situation. Since I held the sole title to the property, my mother and sister were legally considered guests or informal tenants. I instructed my lawyer to draft an immediate legal notice to vacate the premises within 48 hours due to breach of peace and legal property destruction. Furthermore, I contacted a local moving company and scheduled a team to remove all furniture that I personally purchased for the living room, dining room, and kitchen. The next morning, I filed a formal police report for the theft and illegal sale of my son's belongings, providing the receipts and proof of ownership for the sold items. The police assured me they would investigate the illegal transactions. 48 hours later, while Sarah and my mother were out at a baby shower brunch, my moving crew arrived. They cleared out every piece of furniture, appliance, and decor that belonged to me, leaving only the bare structure. I had the locks changed on every exterior door and posted official legal notices on the front porch. When my mother and sister returned, they found their keys no longer worked. Sarah began screaming and pounding on the front door. I pulled up in my car parked near the driveway and rolled down my window. My mother rushed over, yelling about how cruel I was being to a pregnant woman. I looked her dead in the eye and informed her that the house belonged exclusively to me and that they were trespassing. I showed them the police report filed against Sarah for grand theft regarding Leo's stolen property, noting that she would either have to reimburse every single penny or face criminal charges. My mother stood there speechless as the reality of their situation sank in. They had no furniture, no place to stay, and impending legal consequences. I drove away with my son, leaving them on the doorstep to face the consequences of their arrogance. True family supports and respects one another, and no one gets to mistreat my child without feeling the full weight of my response. Within a month, I put the house on the market, sold it for a massive profit, and moved with Leo to a beautiful new city. Sarah was forced to pay back every cent of the stolen property value to avoid a felony charge, and my mother had to downsize to a tiny apartment on her own income. They learn it the hard way that when you push away the person who holds everything together, you end up with nothing at all.